We should just be real about it. This is black music. You know, ultimately, these are traditions that have come from black people and black culture.
Let's not even beat around the bush. Some of the biggest UK hip-hop artists around, you had them all on that stage.
I've never had a manager, I've never had an agent. I've done every aspect of my career myself, you know, so nobody can take credit for that, no one.
I don't know where you're getting this urban terminology. We're hip-hop, we've always been hip-hop.
I'm just really sorry if anyone feels like that. It definitely wasn't intended like that. There was no strategy to be like, forget them guys, their history kind of thing. Definitely not.
Why is the UK scene a scene where it almost seems like you always have to justify yourself?
That person is getting on with their life. They don't even know that you're sitting at home hating on them. Like, they're doing something else.
I also remember people kind of referencing Kung Fu as that backpack generation.
I mean, they didn't say that to me.
If you were ever at the Kung Fu events, you'll know the value my guest today brought to the hip-hop culture in London and in the UK. It wasn't long before she went on to carry her knowledge of that culture into the BBC, where she carried the flag for many at a time when the industry shunned youth culture and left many of us to fend for self. Her input was immense and is still echoed as a pivotal time and experience by all those who were there to witness it. Before we begin, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell to receive the notifications, like, share, and get involved in the comment section below. I'd like to welcome to the 521 DocuChats the game changer, the people's champion, the entrepreneur that is Sarah Love.
What an intro! What an intro!
You know what? I had so much more I could have said.
Oh.
But I'm like, I've got to keep it to a time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Keep it realistic. No,
yeah,
no.
But seriously, like, I mean, where do you stop? Because there's so much and the history is so long and deep. I could have probably done the whole intro for the whole of the interview and you wouldn't have said a word.
No, come on now. I know you're a good interviewer because you just flatter all your guests.
No, you know what? I'm not afraid to tell the truth as well.
No, but I mean, it is like in the blink of an eye, I'm suddenly like, my goodness, I've been doing this 25 years. Like, how does that even happen? I never really thought that this day would come where I was like that deep in the game.
Before we actually get into your story, do you realize and recognize the importance of you in the game?
I don't know. Like, it's like I've done my bit. And I just feel like no one can ever say that I have not represented our people and hip hop music. You know, like I have definitely put my hours in. I've worked hard. It's dominated basically all of my adult life, you know, maybe at the detriment of other things. But no, I mean, in a kind of egotistical sense, it's not like, I don't really think of it, dwell on it in that way kind of thing. You
know what, that was a good little introduction, but I'm not going to delve into that yet.
Okay.
We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
I'm going to sway all of that for now to find out a little bit about who is Sarah Love.
Where to start? I mean, like, I'm born and raised in North London. My mother is Black South African. My father's white British. My mum came over here as one of the exiled South African artists. So we very much grew up around music, with both my parents being musicians, and that was something that was just always around us. Incredible musicians, house parties, being in studios, things like this. So, you know, music world was something that I was familiar with like my entire life, really. So I guess that planted a seed in my mind of like what I wanted for my future. It was something that I definitely felt from very young that I wanted to work in music.
You said exiled. For what?
So my mum is South African. So she was an artist who escaped South Africa, the apartheid regime in South Africa, through show business.
Okay, so left of her own accord. It wasn't like she was kind of pushed out.
No, no, of her own accord. Because I mean, in that time, black people weren't allowed a passport. You know, it was an apartheid system in South Africa. So it was very difficult to escape that. You know, but my mum managed to do that through show business. She was in a show called KwaZulu and also Ipitombi, but that show then toured the world. So that was basically a way that she managed to get out of South Africa.
At the time in South Africa, was there some kind of blockage to artists that made them feel like, yo, I got to leave. I got to go somewhere where, you know, I got a bit more freedom to do what I need to do?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, music is so political as well, isn't it? But no, there's a whole generation of artists, South African artists, who all fled because, I mean, you weren't able to work in the way that you want to. You had limited opportunities because of the legal division in South Africa. So, you know, this is the same generation as your Hugh Masekela, Miriam Makeba, these people. So these were all characters who were at home, you know, for me when I was at our house when we were growing up.
Did your family have any kind of connections to any politics there, any politicians, anything?
Not at that time, but like I say, Miriam Makeba was someone that we grew up quite... My mum used to sing with Miriam Makeba, so we grew up with her around. And then obviously she played quite a big role in the liberation of South Africa in many ways. She spoke at the UN and things like this. So I think lots of artists, it was kind of like they were the soft diplomacy to make the case for ending apartheid, which at that time, obviously, there were a lot of people who didn't want it to end, isn't it? So, so not politicians directly, but yeah, the musicians who were speaking out about, you know, what was going on.
People who stood up for something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I guess that is where your stand for injustice comes from.
Maybe a bit of that. I mean, also, both my parents are people where it's like they're not kind of people who are just going to sit back and go along with the crowd or whatever. They're outspoken, assertive people. So, I mean, we were never raised to be like wallflowers kind of thing. It was like we were never raised with kind of gendered ideas like girls should be like that and boys should be like this. It was, you know, we were encouraged to stand up for ourselves and to be, you know, confident, outspoken people. So,
describe a day in your household where your parents are encouraging you to be confident and, you know, independent, I guess.
I don't think it was like necessary a sort of like something where they're taking out the day, giving us some kind of mantra. I do remember my mum being like, look, you've got no brothers, so you need to be able to stand up for yourselves kind of thing.
And that's where the tomboy thing came from.
Maybe. No, it's funny. Like, I wouldn't say... I think when I was younger, I did used to think I was a bit of a tomboy. But, I mean, maybe now I don't subscribe to such antiquated ideas. No, like, I think... no, it wasn't something where our parents took time out to say, be like that. But it was just, you know, that was just what was kind of expected of how you behave sort of thing. I don't know. It's hard to say. That's who they were. So I guess you just follow when you're raising children, isn't it? It's like the best way is by example. Mostly they're going to model your behaviour, aren't they? So it's maybe that's just more what it was like. I mean, my mum is a very powerful, impressive, charismatic woman. So it was, that was, to me, that was just taken for granted that that's how women behave and they're not to be messed with kind of thing.
I guess the picture I'm trying to paint is that your mother was more than just a woman that fed you and clothed you and washed you. Like, there was more.
Oh, big time. I mean, she's incredible. She's an incredible human being, and my father. You know, I idolise my parents. They're just... My mum has an amazing life story. So we... Also, I guess both my parents are freelancers, so we grew up with them away a lot of the time too. So we had to be able to, you know, fend for and stand up for ourselves and be grown up. We were never mollycoddled, that's for sure, sort of thing. So, so yeah, I mean, I guess in some ways we were sort of not left to our own devices, but like, you know, you had to just, we were never babied kind of thing. But no, my mum was very busy with her career. My father was very busy with his career. And yeah, they were both like really impressive people, I think. Yeah, my dad's like amazing polymath, like crazy computer brain type person. But yeah, so I mean, just both very impressive high achievers.
You know, sometimes you can see, say, for example, there's a footballer and he's incredible. Mm-hmm. And then they have a child and that person becomes a footballer but is not as good, and it kind of misses a gene.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it didn't happen with you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I guess like they, in a way, I do feel like they've passed a baton to me. But also I've been aware of learning from, you know, taking on board their knowledge and their teaching and everything. My father's also a businessman, so he was able to, and still to this day, teaches me a lot about handling business and things. So, and my mum's an amazing performer, so I've learned a lot about, you know, stagecraft and things like that from watching them and just being on the road. You know, like I say, we grew up on the road and going to gigs and things like this. So
it's no surprise that all of those things led to where you got to in the future.
I guess, yeah, it just kind of makes logical sense in a way, doesn't it?
So was music always a part of your life?
Yes. Yeah, I can never remember it not being there.
Okay.
Like, I mean, there were always rehearsals at our house, incredible musicians coming to our house. My dad turning our house into a recording studio, you know, just full of musical instruments and recording equipment. And yeah, and then also my sisters being, I'm the youngest of 4 girls, so them having their own musical tastes and everything, that then I was just around what they were listening to and stuff.
So how did you differentiate between the enjoyment to doing more?
I think I just always had a vision that I wanted. I remember being in primary school and saying to myself, I'm going to have a career in music. And I think in many ways it was sort of from then on, I kind of geared my life entirely in that direction. So I did my music GCSE, I went to music college, I did a music degree. All of these things were kind of in, you know, I planned those stages sort of thing because I knew that these were things that I wanted to pursue. And then while I was at university was when I really started getting busy as a DJ sort of thing. So, so yeah, I had to kind of see if I was going to be able to make both work, you know.
With the alignment of everything that was kind of falling into place, how far down the line did hip hop come into it, or was any other elements of being a musician involved before that?
I started playing drums when I was 9. Me and my sister had a band. My sister's a bass player. So, yeah, I mean, I was involved in music from a live music background. And then I guess my sisters introduced me to hip-hop music, but it wasn't something where I was aware that I was being introduced to hip-hop. It was just around sort of thing, as well as whatever else they were listening to. So, but yeah, becoming part of the hip hop scene and community, that was much later when I was a teenager sort of thing.
I'm going to come to the Kung Fu thing, but one question I want to quickly ask in reference to the drumming. Did you ever do any of the drumming at Kung Fu?
No,
Why not?
Kung Fu. I guess it just wasn't. We only had a couple live bands at Kung Fu. One was Ty came through and did an amazing show, the live band. Then we also
Raw Dog.
Yeah, did the debut Raw Dog there. So that was the only. I'm trying to think I think that was the only 2 times that we had a live band.
Did anyone know at the time that you were a drummer beforehand, or did you kind of keep that quiet?
No, I mean, I guess if you knew me, you knew that, but it wasn't something where I was like out there shouting.
But why didn't you put it out there? Because, you know, you might have been, I don't know, in Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah, no, I mean, good point. Like, again, I think it's like I neglected a lot of other areas of my musical being to put my focus into DJing kind of thing. Like, it was kind of like this snowball that was going and going and going, and then it's, you know, still going.
So at some point you recognize that the drumming is something I enjoy, but the DJing is something that I can make more of and I enjoy.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was like a kind of conscious plan like that. It was just, I was, you know, you just make a discovery of like, oh my God, there's something, and then it becomes like a bit of a obsession, like you can't get enough of it kind of thing. And then so it just accidentally becomes, you know, a dominating factor in your life. And so, yeah, and I guess I had something to prove, you know, and I had a hunger for it, and, you know, I was very driven, you know. So I think just all very accidentally, you know, that it all serendipitously kind of thing, was that I was trying to keep track of the syllables there, that it all happened. And, you know, I think a lot of my career is that.
It's funny that you mentioned that particular word, because yesterday I was looking up the spelling just to make sure I had it right.
Okay, yeah.
To get the pronunciation right. And then I said, I'm purposely going to avoid saying that word.
Right, yeah.
Right? Because if there's anyone that you could use that word for, you're that person. Because there's been a few happy accidents that took you to other places.
Yeah.
Right? So with that in mind, let's go to the first one.
Okay.
I mean, I only want to touch on a couple of them, not everything. Yeah. But the first one was a happy accident that happened at a record shop.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
That was such a beautiful day when I mean, at that stage, I was kind of spending a lot of time hanging around in Soho kind of thing. Like, you know, I was a teenager, so it was like becoming aware of like, there's sort of something's going on in that area, and then accidentally stumbling on Mr. Bongo's. And then I was walking down Berwick Street and I just heard hip hop like blasting out.
Do you remember what you heard?
I can't remember. Good point. Good point. I can't remember what I heard, but I was just like, what on earth is this? And so
you hadn't heard hip hop before then?
No, of course I'd heard hip hop. Yeah,
say,
that's what I mean.
right.
No, but I mean, I just heard hip hop music and I was like, what? Because before that I was aware of Gangstar Tribe, you know.
Go on, say the other name that we discussed earlier because I want to bring something into this.
What's it? Which name? Huh?
Lardy Dardy.
Oh, yeah. Doggy Fresh and Slick Rick, yeah.
So, how old were you when you heard that?
I think I must have been 5. Because, my...
And you picked up on something different there?
Yeah, and I think with the show, Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick, I remember me and my sisters, we were in my sister's bedroom, we were rapping along to it. And I just think it was something that caught on because it had the Inspector Gadget little hook in there.
Do you remember the lyrics?
Yeah.
Go on, do a little bit. No, you know what? You're not a DJ now. You're going to be the MC. Do a lyric.
Listen, I was listening to it literally just yesterday with my daughter in the car, and now I'm like having a mind block. How shame on me.
Go on, do 4 bars.
I can't even remember right now.
Okay, can you recite 4 bars of a Chester P lyric? Because you're a big Chester P fan as well.
I know, I'm trying to... see, you're putting me... I've not had enough sleep for this. No, you know what? I'm not like a crazy lyrical person. Like, I was always interested in production and DJs. I never wanted to be a rapper. I had no interest in that. And also, I'm the queen of getting lyrics wrong. For example, like, you know, Michael Jackson, keep on to the post office. Don't stop till you get enough. Keep on to the post office. Things like that. There's even songs recently where I'm like, oh God, like completely just, that is not what they're saying at all.
But isn't that what we used to do as kids though? Like we'd be in chapel service or whatever. And it's like it's while shepherds wash their socks at night. You know what I mean?
The good thing about that is there's songs that I've known for years and I'm like, that's my tune. They're suddenly like, getting double your money's worth. It's like, oh my goodness, these lyrics are sick.
It's interesting that you go, right, that's my tune, but then you've gone on to have a career from all of those things, you know. So that's incredible when you can turn your passion into something that you can earn from, but you can also help so many other people, which we'll come to talk about.
Yeah, it's a privilege.
I think it's important that people know that, you know, because so many people do things for selfish reasons, but you really didn't. You did it because you enjoyed it, and then recognized there was a gap in the market, let me do this, but so many people came with you on that journey.
It was never something where I was like, there's a gap in the market and...
That's what I'm saying, you went there for the passion, and the gap just presented itself.
Well, it was literally just a serendipity again, like a thing that... Just even the day that I discovered Deal Real, if I hadn't happened to look over my shoulder that day, I had walked past Deal Real and then heard this music and looked over my shoulder and just saw the group of people outside the shop on a Saturday afternoon, which then led me to go into the shop, which, full of dudes. I was the only girl in there. And then even when I think about that, I was like 17, 18, like what on earth was I thinking like that age to go into this record store? I just think then also with putting on Kung Fu, we were just kids having fun. It was something that just began with me and my two...
Don't tell the story yet.
Okay.
Like, I'm not going to let you tell the story
But
yet.
no, I mean, it was all just, I guess I didn't... I've always someone who's had, you know, aspirations kind of thing. I want to do something, I want to be the best at something.
So, can you describe that Deal Real experience from the moment that you were walking past, you heard the music, we know that part. What happened next?
Saturday afternoon is the big day for record shops at that golden era of record shops in Berwick Street. And, you know, so it was completely rammed. Music full volume. I mean, Deal Real was somewhere where it felt like a really real experience. You know, it was just real people in there. It wasn't just a thing of we're exchanging money for records over a counter. It was very like, you know, you had to get to the front to get the records. There was a limited number of copies that day kind of thing. And so walking in, pushing my way to the front, and I saw Pete Real was standing behind the counter, and I just said, have you got any jobs going here? I don't even remember going out that day looking for a job. I definitely wasn't, but, you know, I was like, I like it here.
Liking it there is one thing, but then to kind of just get that inspirational moment to say, yo, have you got a job? What inspired that?
I wasn't going out with the plan of I'm going to look for a job today, but then I think I just liked the idea of working in a record shop kind of thing, in a hip-hop shop. And so, yeah, so then when I walked in, I was like, well, yeah, sod it, I'm just going to ask. And then it was just very funny that Pete Real was like, actually, yeah. And so I think I started working maybe the following week or something. But he always said that he always wanted to have a female working in the shop kind of thing.
So you just in the right place, serendipity.
Yeah, yeah.
That
should
word,
be my
Jesus.
other name, yeah.
You say it, I don't know.
Serendipity.
Yeah,
It was
serendipity.
all serendipitous.
I mean, did you ever have a conversation with Pete about why he hired you? Was it just because of the woman thing?
Yeah, I think he just always, at that time, he didn't have any woman working in the shop. And so he just I just happened to come in that day, and he was like, actually, yeah.
Did he ever say to you, you know what, there's a load of guys in here, a little bit of eye candy might bring us more business?
No, it wasn't like that at all. I think it was just more a thing of the energy that you have in a shop with having not just a bunch of dudes or... Also something where, I just mean like women have things to offer that a man can't offer, as well as being, you know, intelligent. And but I think, you know, just feminine energy is something, you know, that men can't offer that. And I think most women look much more pleasing to the eye than men do. So I think like it's something which can, you know, you can benefit from, I think. And I don't think there's anything wrong. Presentation is important. I don't think there's anything wrong in a woman capitalising on, you know, how she looks. But I think it's really important to be good at what you do, because otherwise you get written off as, you know, not having anything else to offer and just being...
I mean, how many times have we heard people saying, she's brainless, she's just got a body and good looks, and
yeah, which is a shame. And then at the same time, there's lots of like super intelligent women where people don't pay attention to what they're saying because they're just being judged on how they look. Yeah, I mean, these are the things that men don't have to deal with. Like men, you are often in the first place taken seriously and judged on what you have to say, you know, and it's not important whether you look terrible or good that day.
But you know, sometimes I do wake up in the morning and go, I wish I was a woman, man. Things would have been so much easier.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say you wake up and you're like, I'm killing it today. Like, no, that too some days. We've all got to believe in ourselves, you know, be your biggest cheerleader.
Being at Deal Real, do you think that helped you kind of evolve into the next stage of your life? Or do you think you could have got to the next stage of your life without the Deal Real involvement?
I guess I always have, as someone who's had confidence, and I mean, to have had the confidence to have gone in the shop that day, it's only now that I look back and imagine looking at people that I know who were 17, 18, I'm like imagining them going into a shop like the competitive environment like that. But I mean, it was something that I think was probably my career. All I can think is that it was always going to have happened in some way. But, you know, for me to have walked into Deal Real that day was, you know, that was such a gift landing in my lap, because all the people that I got to meet, all the music I got to hear, all the, you know, training that I got just being in the shop with, you know, the most high caliber artists and people, like it was the best training ground that I could have been in, you know. And that was also when the shop was empty, I was able to use the turntables and teach myself to DJ.
Sometimes we all reflect on things that we do. So were you ever kind of stopping and thinking, what the hell was that 17-year-old girl thinking to go and do what she did there?
Only in the last few years, really, have I thought about that, you know. But no, like I say, I think I always had a vision of what I wanted to do with my life, you know, and I always knew that that was music. So, but yeah, I guess it just so happened that it ended up being, you know, as a hip-hop DJ.
Because you got to obviously see records in a different way now. It wasn't just hearing the music, it was now seeing covers and reading credit
Well, I had
notes
seen a
and-
bit of that from my parents, because my parents,
But I'm talking about a whole different scale now.
Yeah,
You're seeing everything
yeah,
that's coming in.
exactly.
You're now beginning to understand the industry because you're working in
Exactly.
the industry.
Yeah, and so that you're getting a different kind of schooling. But I mean, I had aspirations, but beyond just working in a record shop, that wasn't where, you know, for me that was enough, and I would go home with my wages kind of thing. I knew I wanted to be a DJ, and I knew there were things that I need to do to make that happen and everything. And, you know, just by chance, Kung Fu birthed itself too, you know. But yeah, it's just interesting the order of things that happened, and yeah, like I say, just happening to stumble on Real, having access to teaching myself to DJ, to then it was all in a very short space of time, to then bumping into my school friend and yeah,
I'm coming to that.
Start, yeah.
I'm coming to that.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like maybe a higher deity was kind of on your shoulder guiding you to all these things? Because it just seems like there was too many chances, opportunities that just came your way just purely by chance.
I mean, I'm fascinated by religion. I would love to study theology, but I mean, I'm not like a deeply religious person, so it's not something where I ever like thought, yeah, God is watching over me making this happen. I've just always think I've just been someone where I just think you have to apply yourself and make things happen. But it was all just the kind of universe coming together and, you know, bringing me into this combination. I even taken it further back to that, having the parents that I had, having the sisters that I've had, having, you know, the teachers that I've had over the years kind of thing, and then it all kind of culminating in these different events. But no, I mean, I'm not like a religious person to have thought of it in that kind of way, but yeah, I just think everything happens for the right reasons, you know. And so it was meant to be, as far as I'm concerned, even to this day. I'm someone, I like to be an optimist as well. I think every experience we go through is a lesson, you know, and there's something to be gained from that. So, so yeah, even the not so favourable times or experiences are worthwhile, you know. But no, I think it was just my own momentum. Something in the universe was just pushing me in these directions, and things landed in my lap.
You said even your parents, right? In that little statement that you made there. You know, when I was young, what I used to think, I used to wonder if I was somewhere wherever children babies are supposed to be before they're born. Like I must have been in some kind of major, massive warehouse of babies, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there thinking, right, which parents am I going to choose?
Yeah.
Have you ever had any kind of thought like that?
No, but my daughter, who's 4, she said something so profound. Well, I thought it was profound. She said, "Yeah, Mummy, you were lost before you had me." And before, and I was just like,
How old is she?
yeah, she's 4.
And she said that to you?
She's like, "You were lost before you had me, but Mother Nature was looking after me for you." I know, I was just like, go on, girl. And then a friend of ours died, an old family friend died. She came with us to the funeral. She knew this friend of ours. And after the funeral, she said, yes, because Mother Nature has a new job for Eddie now. And then I was just like, you're just killing it, girl. Wow. So, I mean, I guess like you're saying, the warehouse of babies waiting to be allocated their parents. Like, I guess she's sort of summed that up pretty well.
I've had that feeling since I was like probably same age, like 3-4 years old. I'm just like wondering, you know, where was I before I came here? And why did I pick these parents?
very deep philosophical questions, which
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by philosophy and all those kind of
Yeah, I've
ideas.
read a lot of philosophy books, so, you know, but I've never read any of that in the philosophy book. It's just my weird, warped mind thinking these things, you know?
Good contemplations to have.
You're the perfect example of someone who, you know, the power of a chance meeting changes the course of your life. And there was another chance meeting that took you onto your next journey that basically opened up everything for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Tell us about that chance meeting, and then tell us about where it led to you.
You know, saying it opened up everything for me, I think also, and maybe that's the other thing that I'm meaning, rather than it just being some deity above me making things happen. Nothing happens unless you make it happen yourself. Like, you've got to put the blood, sweat, tears into it as well. But what happened for me, I started working at Deal Real. A matter of months later, I was changing trains at King's Cross Station, which, you know, the amount of thousands of people who must be changing train there every day, that I don't think I've ever bumped into someone in King's Cross Station before, but I happened to bump into my school friend Leo, and we hadn't seen each other for like 2 years. So it was just, oh my goodness, where have you been? And we always used to talk about music in school and things, more about jungle and stuff. Like, Leo was never a hip-hop head or anything. So bumped into each other there. He said, me and Charlie have started this party. Like, I said, no way, I've just started teaching myself to DJ. He's like, come, bring your records down. Like, come DJ. I'd never played out before. I was still learning, you know. So he said, we've got a guy playing jungle. There's someone else playing some R&B. I said, cool, well, I want to come play hip-hop. He said, wicked, come down. So that was in a tiny bar in Islington on Upper Street, and there was like 10 people there, and one of them was my dad, one was my sister, and so which was the first time I ever DJ'd out. So at that point it wasn't a hip-hop party or anything, it was just me, Leo and Charlie as three mates. We were just having fun. They just started a night just as, you know, that's a fun thing to do at this point in your life. And so it was just all us kids having fun, you know, and I don't think on that day it wasn't as though I was like, right, plotting and how to take over the world with this kind of thing. It was just that happened to snowball. All of it was just this snowball that just grew momentum the whole time. But yes, so from that day on, I was the resident at this party, Kung Fu, but it wasn't a hip-hop party at that point.
So there was something else before Kung Fu in the form that we all know it.
Yeah, like I say, Leo and Charlie, they weren't hip-hop people.
Yeah.
We built something up, and I said to Leo and Charlie, well, you know, I'm part of this hip-hop community. There's a lot of people that I'm meeting now, like, you know, maybe we can make the most of that by, you know, doing some more, bringing some other hip-hop elements into the party. I know this other dope DJ, we should bring him in, and there's this guy I think will be an amazing host. His name's Maestro. I think we definitely need to get a host, and we should get this other DJ in, and I think we should do an open mic. So it was because of that then I did kind of have a plan to turn it into a hip-hop party in my mind. I didn't say that to Leo and Charlie at the time, but yeah, it was just a thing of, because I was getting to know everyone through being at Deal Real, that I realised this is something that we can capitalise on,
yeah.
sort of thing. Yeah, but as a core unit, we all built Kung Fu together over time. Leo and Charlie were all the business behind Kung Fu.
So they were still involved?
Yeah, they were always part of, you know, handling all the business, the promotion and things behind.
They were good.
And because we knew each other from, you know, young at school. So then, because I was saying I'm involved in hip hop now, then they were like, yeah, cool, let's do this. So then we started bringing the hip hop element into it. I was the resident DJ, and then we knew the hip hop artists and things. So we were directing the lineups and things for the party, but yeah, that's kind of the beauty as well of why it worked, because you had this unique core of people who came together and we all contributed our thing, the five of us.
One of the best hosts ever, Maestro.
Oh
Mysdiggi.
Yeah, that's why straight away I was like, we need a host, and it's Mice. So yeah, it was just like a complete no-brainer to me that that it was going to be Mice.
Then there was the involvement, you mentioned the DJ.
The resident DJs was myself and Harry Love. So you had Leo and Charlie, they were running all the business side of things behind the scenes. And then, yeah, me and Harry were the resident DJs and Mice was the host.
How did you promote and get the word out and pack those jams all the time?
Well, I'd say the thing that really, well, definitely that really took it to the next level was the hand-to-hand flyering. So from the outset, from the very first Kung Fu at WKD, like I say, I had already DJ'd at one before we had gotten to WKD, which was a bar in Camden. Yeah, that's when really the flyering started. And we just had really cool flyers as well, where it was just basically Leo and Charlie picking a picture that they thought was cool. That might have been something from someone's family photo album. It might have been, you know, all sorts of things. But just having consistently flyers out every month, being outside all the jams every month and, you know, distributing, which then that built up to Kung Fu having the flyer pack, which became something that you had to get because everything was in there. You'd get flyers of hip-hop releases, there'd be stickers, there'd be flyers of events happening, concerts and things. So, you know, that did become quite a vital part of promotion in that time in London for hip-hop here, I think. But yeah, it was just the consistent hand-to-hand flyering. That was the main thing, I'd say.
But that also became a business as well, right? You were doing things for other people, promoting their events, putting their you know, their stickers or their flyers or whatever into the packs.
Yeah, so I guess that's then when it went from just being us handing out our own flyers to then, yeah, like I say, it turning into the Kung Fu flyer pack.
I remember being given some of those outside.
Yeah.
I think it was either at Fabric or at the Forum.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I was given one of those packs at one point, and there was a mix CD in there as well. What was the aim of the mix CD that you did? Was it to promote the other artists? Was it to promote your event? What
there was a fashion brand that came to us. Well, I guess they just basically wanted to be down with us cool people sort of thing. So they came to us and said, we want Sarah to do a mix CD, which we're going to give out for free. So it meant the really amazing thing was that, you know, thousands of that were pressed up and it was free. So it spread far and wide, you know. So, yeah, so it was just purely, that was literally one CD. So purely because of that, I was then in lots of people's cars and homes all over. I mean, there's even people in other countries who told me that they had that CD and stuff. So it was something that I not threw together, but, you know, I just made it it just all came, again, very organically, you know. And, but yeah, another thing that helped get my name out there as well as being on flyers every month kind of thing.
It just seems like all the ducks aligned and it was perfect timing.
And also just the time in hip hop, like the part of our stage in the, you know, timeline of hip hop in this country as well, I think. It just happened at a time where, and there was the gap and we happened to have the right combination of people and, you know, we were just serving the community at that time kind of thing. So, but yeah, just being on Kung Fu flyers every month, then obviously I was getting other bookings, people, that CD going far and wide just meant that my name was really out there a lot. And then that's what brought me to the attention of the BBC and other things. So like I said, it's just all this snowball that then was just always building to other opportunities, you know, coming through to me.
How important do you think your role was in what you did that really created so many opportunities for, let's not even beat around the bush, some of the biggest UK hip-hop artists around? You had them all on that stage.
Yeah, I would say so.
So highlights and your importance in what you did.
I guess what I contributed is I was definitely a core part of selecting the lineups because Leo and Charlie, they weren't hip hop people kind of thing. So obviously they came to know a lot of the hip hop people from being at Kung Fu kind of thing. Definitely Ty coming through with the live band, that was really special. Roots Maneuver, you know, Skinny Man and Mud Fam, the extended players, Task Force, Kalashnikov, Terra Firma. These were all just such exciting moments, you know, that are just like, so every single night at Kung Fu, it felt like this is so special. I just want to absorb it all.
Did you ever get like people like Jest and Fire Life Cypher in there as well?
Definitely. I mean, with Jest and his label YNR Productions, I think let me not say that as gospel, but I think we were we debuted a lot of their performances and releases kind of thing. It was definitely the first place that you had to, I think, for the YNR guys that you had to step through. But yeah, Jess was there multiple times for Life Cypher, Universal Soldiers, you know, Mikey Don from Manchester, Broken English, I said for Life, who else? Moorish Delta. I mean, people from across the country too. It wasn't, you know, just London-centric as well, I think. And, you know, as well as Roots Maneuver, Black Twang. So there were also people from an earlier era who had become established from an earlier era.
Your expansion around the country was before you got onto One Extra, as in Kung
Me
Fu,
and DJ kind of thing.
Sarah Love.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, we didn't do a lot of events outside of London.
Not talking about doing the events, but people hearing about it and coming to your event.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. I think it just became something where you had to be there. That this was a pre-social media era as well, isn't it? So the only way to be part of that, you had to get there. Also, Kung Fu was on a Tuesday night, you know, and we would sell out the venue every event.
What was the capacity?
500-600 or something. So, but I always... I've seen amazing footage of the queue that used to be out Kung Fu, because it used to go round the block of the...
I've seen videos of people ciphering outside.
Oh, you see, these are all moments that I missed, because I always did the opening set where I play like some soul, funk and things like 70s, 80s soul, funk, boogie, stuff like that. And then I would also do my hip-hop sets later kind of thing. So I was very much in the thick of things on the stage, like through the whole night. So there's a whole other side of Kung Fu that I never got to experience, sadly. But it's just wonderful to hear about it from other people, you know, and how our open mic, there were definitely people where, you know, as unknown artists or MCs, that's where maybe they had first gotten on a stage. Then people, you know, breaking through. Kalashnikov, I'm pretty sure that was the first time he had ever performed, was at Kung Fu, doing his set of Kung Fu.
You remember what track he did?
Well, that was, had come out with...
there you go.
No, with Lewis Parker. I'm trying to think what the... Was it Dago Mentality, or it might have... No, I'm just trying to think if there was another song. But yeah, I think you're right, it was Dago Mentality.
That was
and
such
then,
a section.
yeah, I love that record. So... and also a record that kind of gets forgotten because it sort of lives in the shadow of murder sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just, again, a lovely combination. Just in the era, so much like exciting energy and growth was happening, I think, then.
Yeah. There was a time where there was too many artists and not enough fans, but what you captured was enough fans and enough artists.
Yeah, definitely.
And also the artists that were there, they wouldn't just perform and leave. They'd stick around and watch the other artists. So there was a community feeling all around.
Definitely.
How did you create that? What did you do that made everyone want to stick around?
Like I say, we were just kids having fun. So it was just jokes. You know, backstage at Kung Fu, it was just having jokes. Leo and Charlie are just such fun people anyway, kind of thing. So I think it was just so fun to hang out there. I don't know how that happened, but yeah, I guess it is just our personalities that made the energy like that. It wasn't, you know, this sort of tense environment of like everyone trying to puff their chests out or whatever. It was just a fun evening, you know, to have. But I don't know. I really don't know. That's a good question. But it was definitely unique in that respect. And I guess also Deal Real was a little bit unique in that respect.
But do you think that the vibe everywhere kind of changed because of your existence in that equation? As in, you brought that vibe that people wanted to be around because of what you were doing. Because I've never known anyone to say a bad word about you.
Oh, bless you.
So I'm wondering if people were gravitating to that because you were there.
Oh, because me personally,
Yeah.
oh, I never ever thought about it like that. I think
Well, think
it was
about it
just
now.
like, I wouldn't even give myself that amount of props. Like, I just think there was just something beautiful in the whole package that was happening there. I don't think I've ever thought anyone was coming there specifically to see me.
Not to see you as in on the turntables or whatever, but just because the person that was putting the event on was a likable person. So everyone was just kind of gravitating to that situation.
I guess that didn't hurt, yeah, because I think if people are stush or, yeah, they've got negative vibes, they're going to be like, sod that, I ain't supporting that thing, like, I ain't going there. But, I mean, also, Kung Fu was £5 to get in. So, I mean, you were seeing these incredible lineups for £5 on a Tuesday night. So it was pretty accessible, I think. Like, we always had a policy of making it as cheap as possible because we wanted it to be available for as many people as possible. Like, people should be excluded by it being, you know, expensive ticket prices. But no, I mean, I never even crossed my mind that it was sort of people would be coming there, you know, because of me, sort of thing. I don't know. It was just it was just the place to be. It was, as corny as that sounds, it was the place to be. You had to be there.
So how many people were performing on those nights?
Well, we'd normally always have. There'd normally always be you know, a couple warm-up sets and then a main act and myself and Harry DJing, and then we'd have the open mic. So, I mean, it was a pretty... We'd also have one person, someone featured on the open mic who would be a relatively, like, an unknown up-and-coming person kind of thing. So, yeah, I mean, you had a good number. You had a lot for your money, man.
So what was the highlight for you where the open mic segment was concerned? There must have been like one moment that was just like, raw, that is like...
Like, I remember Ransom Bad Bones. I think
sick.
I remember seeing him on the open mic, and that was very dope. The first time I think the first time he ever went on stage was Task Force brought him out during their set. But where, I'm trying to remember what they had another name for him. Secret Weapon. Yeah, they called it, that was his name, Secret Weapon. This was before his Ransom Bad Bones. But no, because I mean, a lot of the MCs or whatever, I didn't know who they were. I didn't know their name or whatever kind of, but it was just a spectacle and a lot of fun to just watch an open mic, a proper open mic, you know. And then also just thinking the kind of courage that a lot of those kids must have had to step up to the open mic, because it was, you know, if you'd just seen Chester P on stage or Black Twang, and then you're stepping on stage to spit your bars in that open mic, literally climbing up from the crowd, like, you know, it must have taken a lot of courage.
One thing that I used to hear from, I guess from people in my generation, was that in some ways they were not always happy about what Kung Fu was doing because they felt like they were being neglected. But the thing is, you're a certain age, you're surrounded by a certain group of people, and you have every right to do what you're doing, right? So I don't see, like me being from the older generation, I saw what you were doing as a good thing. You know, you're highlighting talent and everything, but I was surrounded by people that maybe they just felt like they were excluded from that. Now, what have you got to say to those people?
I'm just really sorry if anyone feels like that. It definitely wasn't intended like that. There was no strategy to be like, forget them guys, their history kind of thing. Definitely not. And like I say, there were people who were from were already established from a previous era who were there as well. So I wouldn't even necessarily say that that was completely fair to say that we were excluding anyone either. But no, I think it was just the way, maybe a lot of people from the previous era, there was a sort of gap in their, presence in hip hop kind of thing. Like maybe there was just a short window where maybe they weren't active kind of thing, or the scene wasn't active in the same way. So it just meant that it just happened like that. I mean, there was just also lots of new talent who were coming through.
Who needed to be heard.
Yeah, or not even just that it was anything thought out like that. It was just these were people I know. We knew that, oh, they've got a new record. Oh, yeah, they're sick. We should put them on. Oh, have you seen so-and-so? Oh, this is... But, you know, it it was nothing like kind of strategy behind it, really, behind lineups.
Look, I'm from that generation, yeah, from the earlier generation, but I was still active. So I never saw what you were doing as like, yo, you're excluding me. I was busy doing my thing.
Yeah.
So I think part of the problem in that situation is that these guys had their opportunity. Some of them capitalized on it, some of them didn't. And the ones that didn't were the ones that were there kind of being a bit kind of like, yeah, we've been excluded. But they weren't just feeling that about your event, they were feeling that about other events.
Yeah.
Why is that person getting that show there and I'm not? And
which often
that's because you haven't made a record since 1992 or something.
Well, I think that's often what happens, isn't it? Like people, just in general in life, they want to look elsewhere where they can point fingers rather than like looking at themselves, kind of thing.
But it's also
I'm not trying to throw shots at anyone, fire shots at anyone.
Fire shots, it's all good. But yeah, all I'm saying is like, you know, if you want to get a job, you got to apply for the job. And if you're not applying for the job, you ain't going to get the job because no one knows you exist.
Yeah.
And some of these people forget that no one knows you exist.
Yeah.
Because you've done your time and everyone thinks you're retired. You walked away from it. You're not interested anymore.
Which can be really tough pill to swallow as well, because if you've gone from being like, you know, this lauded person who's up there and everyone wants to be like you kind of thing to then, you know, no one knows who you are or no one's ringing your phone, then that can be tough as well. I'm not saying that's, I'm saying throughout the world, like I'm not just talking about people in hip-hop in the UK, but yeah.
When you buy a car, it's one thing buying a car, but then to maintain it is something else.
Yeah.
Right? And it's pretty much the same with careers.
Definitely.
Right? So how did you manage to maintain your career for so long? And you're still here and you've never been forgotten.
I think it's like there's a lot of people, you know, it's quite frustrating because there's incredibly talented people, but they know nothing about handling business. And so doors don't open for them. Then there's some people who are very good at like handling business or hustling situations, but they're not that talented, but doors open for them. So it can be quite frustrating kind of thing because there's sometimes you see people, it's like, okay, you are not the dopest person, that should have been XYZ person, but it's just that they've been on their grind kind of thing and made things happen. So, I mean, my career, I'm the only person who is responsible for my career. Like anybody who tries to say like, that's only because of this, that's only because of that, that's only because of me, that's only because of so-and-so kind of thing. No, I'm the person who has, you know, put all these hours into going out, waking up at crazy times of day, driving here, getting planes there, speaking to that person, building relationships here and there. Like I've literally, no one else can take credit for that. I've never had a manager. I've never had an agent. I've done every aspect of my career myself, you know, so nobody can take credit for that, no one.
What you were saying there about like, you might be talented but not have the business acumen and vice versa. Imagine if people got together and they started being smart. I'm not saying that they were all dumb or anything, but I'm just saying, imagine if they went to a next level of smart and thought, well, instead of me being an artist because I'm not that good, maybe I should focus on the business side because I'm better at that. And then I know this artist that's dope, right? Let's work together. Let's build something together. Like say, for example, you know, you're the DJ. You're the personality that people are gravitating to. But how much of what you achieved would have actually been achieved if it wasn't for Leo and the other guy?
No, I was going to, Charlie. Yeah, no, Charlie. I was going to say that is a massive part of why Kung Fu worked, because at the core of it, you had 5 important people who each played their role. None of it would have happened without all of us there, kind of thing. So, yeah, so definitely when you have, for example, like an artist having a manager, when you have a manager, the manager can look and say, right, how can I make as much money out of this person as possible? And an artist can focus on being a great artist, you know, rather than being someone where you're wearing 2 hats. Kind of thing. So I just think, yeah, it just makes a lot of business sense when you have a team of people coming together and each playing their part.
The point I'm trying to get across is like, if everyone knew their strengths a little bit better, bring those strengths together within your team and maybe tell the weakest rapper, stop rapping, be an accountant or be the producer or be the promoter. Like, a lot more could happen.
I just think there's a lot of fairy tales out there as well, isn't it? Especially now where I just think things are very, very kind of, you know, there's a total imbalance now of just solo artists, solo artists, solo artists, where, you know, everyone wants to be a celebrity. Everyone can be a celebrity because of, you know, if you've got a Wi-Fi connection, you can make a image for yourself, sort of thing. So, which is the good side of social media, is that it's democratized, you know, the industry. Anybody and their auntie can be part of it, but that's also the bad thing about it, is that anyone and their auntie can be part of it, kind of thing.
You then left the UK and you went to New York. So why did you first of all leave and go to New York? Was there opportunities there for work? Did you just have enough of the UK?
No, there were opportunities there, you know, and it was just kind of like a logical part of my, like, I think everyone in hip hop at some point, you've got to take the pilgrimage to Mecca, isn't it? And go and see what New York is about. And so it was just something that I'd never had the time to do. And so it was just a natural step for me to go there. And I had connections there and opportunities there. So I had done my, I've been doing my show at One Extra on for a few years. And so when that show came to an end, I finally had the actual time and freedom to be able to make the most of the links that I had in New York.
What were you doing out there?
I was DJing, and then I was doing gigs, and I was also co-hosting a little bit of a show called Squeeze Radio, which that was on WKCR. It was previously the Stretch and Bobbito show, okay. And then that became Squeeze Radio with Susio Smash and Tim C. Tim C wasn't on the show at that time, but then I had done a few shows with Susio Smash, and then I was just doing a fair bit of DJing in New York too.
So how did that opportunity come? Who approached you? Was it you approached them? Did they approach you?
So through DJ Chaos of Artifacts, rest in peace, sweetheart, I was coming to New York. My friend lived out in New York, and then I hit him up. I said, oh, I'm coming to New York, like I was going to be there. Because I would do things like I'd do my show at One Extra, I'll get home, get my suitcase, go to Heathrow Airport. I'd spend, you know, 5 days in New York, come back, sleep for like a day straight, and then get ready, do my radio show. I was having such an insane lifestyle at that time. All amazing things that I was getting to do. But because of DJ Chaos, I said, oh, I'm coming to New York. I want to do some shows. He said, oh, you should hit up my dude, Susio Smash. He puts on a lot of gigs out there. So then that's how I came to meet Susio. Then through that, I met a lot of hip hop artists in New York and stuff.
You left New York, you came back to the UK. Yeah. And
yeah.
What did you take on from there?
I came back as my base was in the UK, but I was still touring a lot around the world then. So, I mean, I started touring around the world, say, in mid-2000s, and then I just continued doing that really, like, up until I had a baby.
So you were constantly active?
Yeah, and so that's what, I mean, a lot of people don't really understand, because I was literally going from the radio shows straight to the airport, flying to Singapore or something, DJing there, coming back in time to get ready for the show. Or every year I used to on Boxing Day, I'd fly to Australia. I'd do a tour in Australia, go to New Zealand, I'd stop off on the way home, do some gigs there, come back. And then that's also why, I mean, you know, most of my adult life was dictated by my career, because I wasn't physically, I was wherever my record box took me, kind of thing. And so, yeah, I was also just DJing. Yeah, I was just DJing all over the world, which is, and also I think I do feel proud of myself that I went to all of these, you know, I've gone to 30 plus countries as a solo DJ. I didn't go there because I was somebody's DJ, you know, which is a lot of DJs, it is because they've been so-and-so's who was a star or whatever, and it's their DJ. But yeah, but it's been my name on the headline, on the flyer or whatever. So, you know, this is also what I mean. I have put in the legwork. I've had the sleep deprivation and the, you know, the air miles doing all this, spreading my name around the world. It's not, no one can take credit for my career because I've been the person putting in the legwork.
Like, we just need to clarify that, you know, it doesn't matter whether you're male or female, that you did achieve what you achieved because you put the work in. You said it yourself, legwork. You did the legwork.
Yeah.
You were traveling around the world. You were lacking sleep.
Yeah.
And you were carrying your own record boxes.
I was.
Right.
And these are the days before you had like crazy weight restrictions at the airport. But yeah, my record case, I used to weigh 25 kilos. So, I mean, the strain on my back and like the calloused hands and everything to do it. So yeah, I was touring pre-Serato, before Serato had been invented.
Did it at any point just kind of make you stop and think, why the fuck am I doing this, man?
Never.
Okay.
Never, even to this day. Even to this day. I mean, it was funny. I bumped into Pirelli a few months ago and he asked me a question that I'd never been asked for. And he's like,
why are
Sarah,
you doing
just
this?
tell me, why'd you do this? And I was like, I have no idea why I'm doing this. Like, I just love hip hop. I love music. I think it's just such a, I've been so privileged with the career that I've had. Like, you know, it's, how can I complain or just take that for granted in any kind of way? It's like a privilege to be able to spread the word of hip hop, the gospel of hip hop, and represent artists and have fun doing it. I mean, my dad always said, doing a job that brings joy to other people's lives, what can be better than that?
Just to put things into context, it's like you did what you enjoyed, but like I said already, like you probably gave a leg up to a lot of people that basically went on to achieve things through what you were doing. So you always, and I hate this when people say, oh, you're giving back, but just by what you were doing, you were naturally giving back without realizing, you know, because a lot of opportunities and careers were created from where you started.
I mean, when I got my show at One Extra at the BBC, I was like, this is going to be fun because I'm just going to play what the hell I want to play. Like, I'm not going to sell out and start doing this because then I can become this, you know, follow this lane. I was just really excited to represent our people and proper hip hop. You know, I didn't want to water it down at all. And yeah, I mean, it works for me, like not watering anything down. So.
You mentioned One Extra. How did that happen?
Again, I think because my name was just out there doing so many shows on so many flyers, it just became, people became aware of me. And then One Extra invited me to do a few guest slots on mixes for other shows and things. And then, which then obviously was then road testing me for inviting me to do a proper show. So then eventually they...
Did you know they were road testing you?
No. I mean, I was, as a business person, I was hoping that was, you know, I was going to be able to steer it into something like that. It was another relationship that had opened that I was thinking, right, well, I want to build here kind of thing.
Did you at any point while you were there at One Extra and they were road testing you, play any kind of Yoda mind trickery on people and get them to hire you?
Oh, no, of course, because like I say, my dad always trained me in business, how to handle business and things. So being a businessman that he is. So, I mean, it was definitely, that's where I used my skills as being able to be professional and talk to people and, you know, be on time, showcase myself and what I can offer with my unique skills kind of thing, beyond just like, here, I know some good songs sort of thing. So, so yeah, I was definitely thinking steps ahead, like how can I capitalise on the fact that I've got a foot in the door here sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, ultimately it came down to them that they invited me to host the show eventually.
Because I mean, you could do everything right and still not get the role, right?
I guess so, yeah.
So what do you think the turning point was where they just turned around and said, we want you?
I have no idea. Maybe it was also just, well...
Yoda.
Yoda. No, but I think I just think, again, it made sense. Like, they don't want to be accused of not having enough women on their station, women of colour. At that time, it was called, you know, it was about black music, not urban music. That was their kind of tagline. And so a black woman of colour hosting a hip hop show where I was one of the main busiest DJs at that time. So I think it just made a lot of sense for them if they wanted to have someone credibly involved in the hip hop scene doing the show. Like, it probably ticked a lot of boxes for them, I think.
In that sentence, you said black music and urban music. And then obviously there came a point where it changed and it became urban music. How did that affect your role?
I think One Extra basically had a big remarketing of the whole station where they realised we need to, you know, broaden ourselves out and change the tagline here so then it can be, you know, less threatening. No, I don't know, but to some people. But no, I mean, I think it was a real shame because what was the beginnings of One Extra, it had, you know, a lot of hope there, I think, in terms of truly being a black music broadcaster with from an official source, the BBC. But it's just a shame. I think the whole industry, like, we didn't create the term urban music. You know, what the hell is urban music? Does that mean that people who are from non-urban areas making hip-hop, that's not urban music, but then at the same time you want a bunch of other hip-hop artists under the label urban music? So I think we all know what they're trying to say when they say urban music. They're trying to say black music, but they don't want to make it so non-black people are being excluded or something. I don't know, but I just think obviously there's some kind of racial undertone there. And I just think a lot of terms, these are if it's not a term that's come from us, then I'm already skeptical, and no way did we come up with that. Same thing with the term backpack rap, like backpack hip hop. We didn't come up with that. Like, who came up with that term?
But I remember doing an interview, me and Mark B were doing an interview at Wordplay Records, and they asked me how I would describe my music, and I said it's hip hop. And there was a woman there who was interviewing, and there was a guy who was the videographer, and he was videoing the thing, and it's somewhere out there, I don't know where it is. And she said, no, I think it's urban music. I went, no, it's not, it's hip hop. I don't know where you're getting this urban terminology. We're hip hop, we've always been hip hop. You can't just come in and start changing things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that basically, I felt kind of offended by that, because I'm like, yo, it's like all my life, I've just wanted to be a hip hop artist.
Well, this is the problem, I think, when you get into difficulty when it's people who aren't part of our scene or our family, but then they're the ones who are able to write the story of our people. And ultimately, history belongs to who writes it. So if then people are deciding, certain institutions are deciding, no, we're going to call this urban now kind of thing, or we're going to call this alternative hip hop sort of thing, that also waters it down. Because I think I had this conversation with Master Ace where I said to him, do you differentiate between rap music and hip hop music? And he said, no, because as soon as we start doing that, we're actually taking away from our ownership, which ultimately rap has come from, you know, hip-hop sort of thing.
Or vice versa, or whatever.
Obviously, there are other incarnations of rap kind of thing in decades before or whatever.
You know, we were rapping before the word hip-hop even existed in my... I don't remember. Like, I think hip-hop came in after Malcolm McLaren. When Sugar Hill Gang was there, it was rap. When Malcolm McLaren came in, suddenly it was like hip-hop.
I mean, and then you can even go back decades earlier, like, I mean, into the earlier 20th century, where you can say, okay, well, then there's even examples of rap then kind of thing. But yes, in terms of it being a kind of proper established culture and, you know, musically something with a movement behind it, obviously that's hip hop. So I agree with what Master Ace is saying, where, yeah, as soon as we start dividing things up and giving things different, categorizing things, it's taking it away from our ownership, which ultimately we are the creators of, these things. Yeah, but I also think when it's really suspicious when it's other people who aren't our people, but then they're creating.
Well, let me flip that. Let me flip that on its head a little bit, because you know what I found entertaining with that conversation that I had with that woman who was the journalist who was basically interviewing me. They were offended that I wanted to stick to the title hip hop, but yet you're the one changing it, and I'm offended by the fact that you're changing it. So who's right? Who's wrong? Because I personally feel in that situation I'm right. I know who I am. Yeah. You've come in, you have no understanding of what I'm doing, and suddenly you've given it another title because you've heard the word said somewhere else, but you haven't done your research and don't know the history.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it's probably people who aren't actually that deeply involved in our scene or our community, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who are going to make myths like that. But yeah, so I think we also need to not buy into all of that too, I think.
But it's up to us to stop it, the people that love what we do, the people that our lives depend on it.
Yeah, and I just think, for example, going back to the black music thing, I just think, yeah, that we should just be real about it. This black music, you know, ultimately these are traditions that have come from black people and black culture, and that doesn't mean that people are excluded of participating.
But is that where hip hop came from? Because, you know, I've always felt like hip hop came from poverty.
Yeah, I mean, and in the early days of hip hop as well, there were white people involved. That you just mentioned Malcolm McLaren,
Hispanics,
Blondie kind of thing, Latinos,
yeah.
regardless of what people want to say about whether Latinos were part of the inception of
But they were the DJs, they were the breakers, you know what I mean? They were always involved.
I just have no time for that whole conversation of Latinos not being part of birthing hip-hop. At the end of the day, hip-hop would not exist without island people. Yeah, so it's like, I don't even understand it. Also, I don't understand the whole thing of people want to argue with each other, you know, like we're all part of this thing. Why create division, you know? And I just like to be an optimist, you know. I really just don't have time for negativity. You know, I feel bad for people who are feed off negativity or have a negative attitude because it's draining. It must be so draining, you know. And it's just also, and just the hating and things like that, like the amount of time people put energy into hating someone. I'm talking like years of hating someone. That person is getting on with their life. They don't even know that you're sitting at home hating on them. Like, they're doing something else. It's just some wasted energy, you know.
Did you ever have to deal with any hate?
No, I don't think so. I mean, probably only from one person, but no, I mean, never.
Wasn't me.
Yeah. So, I really don't, I can't remember ever, like, you know, maybe I've just blocked out my own memory, I don't know, but no, I really can't remember.
We've spoken a few times and whatever, and your outlook on life is really good. It's always like, you know, bright, it's always positive. So even if the hate was there, I think you'd be too busy looking good to even acknowledge it.
Well, that's the policy that I've taken, you know, with any person who has been like that towards me, kind of thing. Like I say, that's not really something that I have ever encountered other than from one person, and that's also for me the testimony. It's like, well, if this was something to build on, then surely we'd be hearing this from multiple people, sort of thing.
And you got to also remember, like, because you were making moves, that, you know, if anyone hated you, it was probably within their own mind, it was just jealousy. It was just whatever it was.
Yeah, or
you know?
Bitterness or whatever.
Bitterness, because you're doing
and
something.
So, yeah, and like I say, I was just far too busy focused on what I was doing and trying to make something of myself and contribute, and I was enjoying what I was doing. I just did not have any time to be worrying about what other people were doing. I also just think with being angry and bitter and negative, like there's so many beautiful things in the world that we can be thinking of and putting our time into, you know, and that people who are really love me and are invested in me and my well-being, I just have not got time for, you know, anything beyond that other than giving pity to that.
So do you practice this?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, talk about it.
No, I'm quite interested in Buddhist philosophy, and I just feel like there's a lot about Buddhism. Buddhism is not a religion, it's a philosophy. So there's a lot about Buddhism that I just think makes a lot of logical sense on a universal scale. And I mean, like my daughter said, you know, Mother Nature was looking after me, Mummy, before you had me. And then when our friend died, that Mother Nature now has another job for Eddie. So I think just on that sense, in that regard, it makes a lot of sense to me. And just a lot of teachings of Buddhism, I think, have just really, you know, I've connected with in terms of how you view the world and how that nourishes you, kind of thing. And I just think it makes a lot of logical sense, and it's worked for me, you know. And yeah, one of my favourite, all my friends get bored of hearing Buddhist teachings from me, but, you know, a Buddhist teaching, one that I love is holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intention of throwing it at someone else, but you're the one who gets burnt. And it's so true. Yeah, being angry and bitter, it wears you down, you know, and it makes you ugly inside, you know, but finding a way to see the glass half full, to be optimistic, you know, that's a skill, it's a training, just like training any other skill. Like if you were to, you know, become a swimmer, run a marathon, you're not just going to start running a marathon tomorrow. You need to train, kind of thing. And that's what life is. You're training and nurturing this a different kind of outlook.
You know, what's annoying is that people forget that, you know, Usain Bolt didn't win that race in 10 seconds. Yeah. He trained an entire lifetime to get there. You see what I mean?
No, that's a good one, yeah.
So, you know, Maradona didn't become the best footballer in the world because he got on a football pitch and kicked the ball. He trained his whole life.
And that's another Buddhist teaching. The jug fills drop by drop, which then Chairman Mao turned into the journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. So, but yeah, he's a more controversial figure. But yeah, so I just think, again, the jug fills drop by drop. It's not something that happens in a vacuum either, is it? So I just think there's so many things to feel positive and hopeful about in the world, and these are things that we should focus on. Like, I mean, seeing the 50th anniversary show last year with you were performing at, and Shorty and Mr. Thing were DJing, and of course the headline act with Big Daddy Kane. It was such a beautiful thing. Like the whole lead up to that show was so lovely. Like people were so excited. Like people were traveling from far and wide to come. It was so. It felt like Christmas was coming, kind of thing. It just was such a lovely time because it was lots of people maybe who haven't been out to a show for a while and things like this, but we were seeing people that you hadn't seen for ages and things like that. And, you know, there was so much to feel positive about that evening in terms of the people that we got to on stage together, that it was just a real shame to me that we weren't talking more about those artists and how wonderful that was. But the focus was about something, you know, unpleasant, you know, that I feel sorry for those guys feeling that they had to do that.
Do you want to kind of go deeper into that or leave it?
Well, I mean, I wasn't like involved. I was on stage when it happened, but I mean, I wasn't like involved in that moment, kind of thing. So it's not. I'm not really sure what I can say.
The one thing I can say, and I don't mind saying it, is that, you know, I took 3 weeks from everything I was doing to memorize those lyrics, to write some new lyrics, to basically, you know, represent hip hop. I focused on, you know, I'm going to get the breakers on stage. I'm going to bring a graffiti artist, which I wasn't allowed to because of the spray can situation.
Okay.
So I was gonna do all of this, like to represent hip hop.
That's
and
wonderful.
I felt like I put all that time, and I wonder how much time Master Race and all the other acts put in. Big Daddy Kane, everybody. And then all the focus shifted to the drama. That was unfair for all of us.
No, it was a real, but not just you, everyone in the crowd.
All of
like,
us.
People paid money.
Saying, all of us.
People had travelled from far to come to that show, you know, people paid money. And just also, you know, I remember telling my dad about it after the gig, and he just said, no, it doesn't matter who's on stage. If someone is on stage, that's their stage at that time, kind of thing. And so, and also I just think it's really sad because I feel like that has tarnished their reputation a bit.
I messaged Master Race and I said, look, when you speak to Kane next time, just tell him I apologise on behalf of the whole of the UK for what happened. Yeah, that's what I can show you the message. I actually said that.
No, I apologise too.
Yeah, I apologise on behalf of the entire
UK. What an embarrassment! What an embarrassment!
And you can't take anything away from Hijack as a group. They were amazing. But what happened on that day was wrong.
I just thought it was a real shame.
Yeah.
The thing that I walked away from that day was, it was sad. It was really, you know, it was just a really sad
And no one's here to slag them off or whatever.
No,
but just saying
like,
that,
you know, and that's all that I mean. I want to bring the focus to it was so dope how you came out with the breakers. Shorty and
I came up with my dressing gown and fish slippers.
Yeah.
Fish slippers.
Yeah. But no, and Shorty and Mr. Thing murdered it, you know, and just reminded everyone why they're two of the best DJs in the world, you know.
And what good guys as well.
Oh, they're diamonds. You know, both of them absolute diamonds.
I've heard you say, you know, Shorty Blitz is, you know, one of the guys that you've always looked up to. So.
Oh, of course. I just think Shorty needs to be given his roses for everything that he's done for this country. He's done a lot for a lot of people's careers out here. And he's someone who's completely selfless. Like, he has held a torch for hip hop in this country. Also, just in terms of the continuity of hip hop in this country too, and at a high level. You know, and people really need to acknowledge that. I think it's an important role that he plays in the history of our legacy in this country. And I mean, he's just so talented, and he's such a lovely person.
Yeah.
You know, so I just have so much admiration for the work that Shorty's put in.
And if anyone here hasn't seen the interview that I did with Shorty Blitz a couple of months ago, go and check that out. You'll get to find out about the person, and you'll also get to understand. You walk away from that interview knowing that that is one of the most genuine people you find out there. He's got a passion for the music straight from the get-go, and he gives a shit about everybody. Yeah. He's trying to support anybody who he believes in, but he's willing to give others a chance as well. So go and check that interview.
Definitely check it. That is actually one thing that I really like about Shorty, is how much he loves hip hop. Like, he loves hip hop.
Oh, he knows. Oh, listen.
So I just, I appreciate that.
You know, you mentioned the word backpack.
Yeah.
There was a time when I also remember people kind of referencing Kung Fu as that backpack generation.
I mean, they didn't say that to me.
Okay.
So I mean, but yeah, that was, I guess, the era internationally, I mean, as well, where you kind of had that term was being thrown around, wasn't it? I mean, even in New York or whatever, like if you think in those early 2000s, I guess that's when you started hearing about this backpack rap. But yeah, I mean, like I say, we had, for me, Kalashnikov is possibly one of the first people to really do that road rap sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I definitely feel that's like an important kind of pivot point in
the joining of the
sort of thing. Obviously, you had your Son of Noise, and you know there was other sides of kind of the street sort of thing in UK hip hop music.
Yeah, I don't think I ever saw Son of Noise as road rap.
No, I mean, because that didn't exist then. But if you're talking about like
but they weren't even dealing with those kind of issues, whereas someone like Scheme was.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's in terms of it just being like something gritty sort of thing, maybe in that respect. But like I say, that wasn't even something that existed in any kind of tangible way that I guess I'm just covering my back of people like, no, because people were like out in these streets kind of thing before that.
There's a difference to making street music to being road music.
Something where people were using this phrase, road rap, like I feel like Kalashnikov played quite an important part in the
I think he was
of that.
Yeah, I definitely think that he was pretty much at the top of the list for that. You know, like when so you had like obviously Scheme and Big P and Fallacy and
all of those guys performed at Kung Fu.
Yeah,
you know, your Moorish Deltas, Poisonous Poets, all these cats. So I'm saying, if anyone wants to sit there and say Kung Fu was about backpack rap. But either way, who gives a damn? People were there for love. People were there for a positive experience. So, you know, if anyone wants to turn it into, but you weren't rapping this, whatever. Like, you know, whatever. I know what we did.
One thing that's always been of interest to me is, like, why is the UK scene a scene where it almost seems like you always have to justify yourself? Like, you always have to prove yourself.
I guess I kind of know what you mean. Maybe that kind of comes from us having such little love from the industry in some respects, kind of thing, where maybe people feel like that's when you're certified, as if then you are, you know, on that kind of more mainstream acknowledgement sort of thing. But so maybe, I guess I know where where you're coming from, but and maybe also some of it is just about the hip-hop essence of, you know, you have to step into the circle and...
Well, how many times can they step into the circle, though? Because, like, you know, say for example, you have a UK artist, they've got an album out, they've got 14 tracks on the album, 12 of those tracks are dope, and 2 of them kind of fall a little bit. But yet, they don't get the acknowledgement they deserve. Whereas someone in America can make an album with 14 tracks, there's 2 dope tracks, and 12 not so good ones. but yet they can buy mansions and have careers and be remembered 30 years later. Why do you think that is? Because I see that all the time, and it baffles me.
But I guess it's also the scale of the industry.
But it goes worldwide, but we never get the opportunity to go worldwide.
I just don't think like hip-hop, our hip-hop community were really given the love by the industry in a certain era. Maybe the industry was focused on other kinds of scenes at that time, maybe more sort of like garage, drum and bass. I don't know, like, but I just think that there wasn't people in positions of power weren't opening doors, kind of thing.
What happened to One Extra? Why did you end up leaving? Did anyone else take a slot?
Well, again, I think that was a time when then One Extra was changing.
Yeah,
I guess they had taken the thing of being like, we're the BBC's black music broadcaster, which is what they got their license on, to then it was making the transition to being something a bit more, maybe a little bit less specialist kind of thing. And so, but yeah, after my show was then when Charlie Sloth joined.
Right, that's what I was trying to get at.
Joined One Extra, yeah. But I think across the station, the One Extra was changing from what its original remit was.
Yeah, I just wanted to get that little bit out to say who replaced you, and look at what happened there. Like, you know, it just went into somewhere completely different, didn't it?
Yeah, like where I think you had a previous era at One Extra where it was Excalibur had a show, Rodney P Skits had a show. So it was definitely a different kind of balance of hip hop then to then it became, something more across the station. I'm saying it became something more kind of commercialized, I'd say.
But you worked at other radio stations as well. Tell us a little bit about the other stations you were working at.
I guess here the main other show was Fubar Radio, where I set up a show with them. I was previously doing another show with a friend of mine called Hugh and Doc Brown. And then we finished doing that show and I said to them, have you thought about doing a hip hop show? And I've got another guy in mind that, you know, could co-host the show for me. And this is what I'm thinking of doing the show. We could have artists featured and then do an open mic. That show was on Fubar Radio and it was, Mice was who I invited to come be the co-host, Mysdiggi.
You had a lot of good guests on there and I used to watch that. What was the most interesting one for you?
I mean, we had so many, amazing American artists. I'm very proud that I brought the Juice Crew together and we did like this epic interview with the Juice Crew. So, I mean, and it was so funny, like we had MC Shan, Master Ace, Craig G, Roxanne Shante, Cool G Rap and Kane all sitting down to have a conversation with us.
I remember when that was, when that went out and I was just sat there going, how? Oh my God.
I know. And it's like, but then I still heard from people, yeah, but where's Marley Marl? It's like,
yeah, but
come on, man. Like, look at these guys that got together.
You know what's mad? In 1988, Juice Crew came to the UK. I think they were at Brixton Academy, if I remember correctly. And I don't know how my manager wrangled it, but I had a manager back then. And he got me to go backstage and meet all of them.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, but that's when I saw that, that's where it took me to. I was just like, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was pretty epic because I don't think they've actually they hadn't really done anything before that.
You know, we were talking about the show at the Forum at Kentish Town. And there was a moment where Kane called you and Shorty Blitz up on stage as well.
Yeah, and 279.
And 279. How did that feel?
Well, no, because first he called Shorty on stage. And so then I got my phone out. I was like, oh my God, I need to film this for Shorty because I want him to have the footage of this. And so I was just like, oh, so giddy for Shorty. Then he turned around and was like, Sarah Love, come here. And I was just like,
I remember him having to call you 2 or 3 times. Don't be shy, come on.
Yeah, and so I was just kind of like, no. And then even as I got to the stage and was standing next to Shorty, I was like, I should not be here. Like, I'm not worthy of being here. And then, so I just kind of felt like I'm not to be standing next to 279 and Shorty Blitz. I was just like,
yeah, but you deserve the slot. You've done the work as well, you know. Yeah,
no, I have put in a lot of my life into doing the radio and other things. So, but yeah, what an honour. I mean, to be called on stage by an absolute certified, legend, one of our pioneers of this culture.
So I'll put that into context. So I supported Big Daddy Kane in 1989. I was backstage Then I supported him again in in 2000 at the Custard Factory in Birmingham. Then I supported him again at this show. And every time I've had conversations with him, and every time I've gone up there, he doesn't remember me. So I'll just put that into context for you. There you go. So you've done something incredible, like, you know what I mean? Did you have anything to do with HFM?
We did do a Kung Fu show on HFM very briefly. And then I had been on maybe other people's shows. But yeah, I mean, Kung Fu and HFM, we were like quite tightly connected. Again, that was another factor at that time, just all these things were happening, you know, so it's like you had Kung Fu, you had HFM, you had Channel U, there was, and then the labels like Y&R, Low Life Records, there was just lots of things that happened to be all happening at that same time, which I think like sort of turbocharged a lot of the scene then too. So obviously there were like other parties going on at that time as well and stuff.
You also had something to do with, is it Soul Power Cyphers?
Oh yeah, that was my show. I put all that together as well. So I had a concept to do a show with each episode. I'd hand selected like MCs to be on it. Yeah, so that was my idea, was each episode to do that. Yeah.
And the reason why I wanted to mention that is just to highlight again how much you've done to help others.
Oh, bless you. Yeah, mate.
Because you've not stopped. Some people would, I guess, say in some ways that they're doing it because they're trying to build their own profile. But at the same time, there's nothing wrong with building your own profile if you're building other people with you. If you're doing it all selfishly, because there's some people who will only do it for themselves.
Yeah, no, and it wasn't at all for me, in all honesty. It was literally like I was just thinking this would be so dope to have these MCs together kind of thing, to have Scorsese and Black the Ripper on one cypher, to have, you know, Chester B and Sonny Jim on one side. Like, I just thought it would be a cool thing to watch, that people would like to see. It was not about me in my thinking. It was nothing to do with, it hadn't even crossed my mind that I'm promoting myself here. I just thought, yeah, there's some people that I could get on the camera and let me go and chat to them, see if they're going to be up for helping me on the technical side of putting this together. I approached Carhartt store and I said, I want to do this cypher. Can we do it in the store? I invited I was just inviting MCs that I liked, kind of thing. So yeah, I just thought it'd be a cool thing to do.
Yeah, that was dope. So do you think you deserved the Mobo?
Oh, I mean, again, for me to be included was like such incredible, like, established DJs and things like that. I was not expecting to win a Mobo that night. There was twice that I was nominated, and I'm the only woman who's ever been nominated.
Okay. I've been hearing people saying in other interviews that you were the first female to represent hip hop.
Oh, really?
Right. As a DJ. As a DJ.
That's a nice thing to say.
Right? As a DJ. But there was other people that I feel like who were there before you.
Yeah, I've never said like, I'm the first.
No, you've never said it. Other people have said it. Other people have said it, or put it down in some text somewhere or whatever. And but the thing is, other people, like say for example, you had DJ Elaine, you had Jenny Francis. Those people were playing hip hop records, but their show wasn't hip hop. So maybe that's what they mean, that you were kind of predominantly hip hop.
Which I think also is a little bit of a difference as well. Like, I think you can have a radio show that plays hip hop. That's not necessarily the same thing as a hip hop show, sort of thing. So, and that's not like throwing shade on any of those people, like, you know, Jenny Francis, what a, you know, queen she is, kind of
100%.
thing. And yes, definitely she represented a lot of artists, but that isn't the same thing as like a hip hop show. So I'm not taking anything away from what she's done or anything.
I mean, she was dope. I used to listen to her shows and everything, and it was like she was supporting people no one would support.
Yeah, and again, I was going to say, like, this is another person with a platform who was like, right, how can I showcase people? And I think actually that is a story of a lot of women in the industry. There's often stories where it's women who have opened doors for people, but they don't necessarily get the credit. That time interviewing Juice Crew, they said all of them, it was because of Roxanne Shante that they came through. I mean, when we think of Cookie Crew out here, that opened a lot of awareness to hip hop in this country, kind of thing. There's lots of, so I just think often there are women behind stories, women who have, you know, been shared some of the love.
So basically what you're saying is that if I want to do what you're doing, right, in order to bring spotlight on artists and whatever, then I need to go and have a sex change. Is that what you're saying?
Let's hope not. Let's hope it doesn't happen. That's
Okay, we're taking contributions, we're taking donations for me to have a sex change so that I can help you lot a little bit more.
So you can get your reputation.
Yeah, I need to build my reputation, so I'm there for a sex change. Donations, I will put the paper. I'm joking.
Yeah, we hope you're joking. We hope you're joking. No. No wrong if that's what you want to do, but yeah.
No, I'm good. You've been in this for over 25 plus years?
25 years, yeah.
Is it 25 now?
Yeah.
What was the biggest highlight for you in all of that time?
I mean, there's just so many, for like Kung Fu was
one.
such a, no, I can't. No, because say like the Juice Crew in the studio, that's just one episode of the radio show.
Okay, so let me put it another way then. Juice Crew or Chester P?
Oh.
Go on.
Well, no, I mean, like...
You got to make an enemy somewhere.
No, okay, well then I'll say Chester P. No. No, like what an honour to have been able to be part of such a pivotal time of hip-hop in this country. Like, you know, I just feel so lucky to have been there. It was just a thing where you just had to be there. There isn't much footage of those days. This is before smart phones and things. So it's like, you know, truly a thing. You just had to have been there. And, you know, what a treat that I was able to have been there. The amount of friends that I've made from that time, like artists that I've gotten to know, I mean, their music that I've gotten to know. And then, yeah, that's opened the door for me to have worked with so many amazing people. But yeah, I mean, what an incredible opportunity to have Juice Crew sat in one room and just talk to them for like 2 hours kind of thing.
Yeah, madness. You were a liked person by a lot of people, and you never gave reason to anybody to dislike you, or, you know what I mean? So well, no one ever saw you as competition. They just like, yo, it's your turn. And that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I try to be a positive person and, you know, be decent with people, you know, and so...
I think that was the biggest mistake you made in your life. You should have been more cold and just...
just cold-blooded bitch. Yeah. No, I mean, I guess in some respects maybe I am kind of thing, but no, I mean, like, yeah, I've just tried to be a decent human being and, yeah, enjoy this life while I'm on Earth. But I do think it's important to treat people with respect. It's important to have compassion. It's important to be kind. These are the values that we need in the world, kind of thing. We don't need people being selfish and egotistical and negative. Like, where's that going? That ain't going nowhere for you. Cynicism, I cannot, you know, it just makes me so sad. The people who are like in the yeah, but people, or like just the cynical outlook on just anything. It's just like draining. I feel so sad for those people where they're stuck in that rut. They need to train another side of their mind, and then we can actually start making progress in our own lives and for a greater good. You know?
And I've seen you do that as well. Like we were at the Park Jam last year, John ZD's Park Jam, and yeah, anyone that came up to speak to you, you made time for everybody.
Aww.
You know, it was nice to see. And there was a friend of mine was doing one of those thingy dancing things.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Right yeah, and I was just watching people coming and chatting to you, and Tony D was there as well.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, that was nice. Just making time for everybody. It doesn't hurt, does it?
No, and I mean, it's a wonderful opportunity to be able to speak to other human beings and there's something to let everybody has something unique about them to hear or connect with, you know, and how lovely if someone wants to come and give me some time of day kind of thing. Like,
but I think like the choice of records that you play kind of also embraces that ideology, like, you know, like you could easily be playing aggressive music and whatever, and you know what I mean.
I do play aggressive music. I love MOP.
Let me finish what I was saying though, right? Even though you play aggressive music, it's almost like it's done in a way where it's kind of like friendly.
Yeah, it's warm.
Yeah, there's some love behind it.
Yeah, because this is hip hop. Yeah, I mean, my daughter loves Anti Up, so I mean, to me, that's like, why shouldn't that be like a fun song for kids as well? I'll teach them about robbing people. No, I just think everything that I play comes from a passion, like an absolute love for hip hop. And I just think there are lots of other people out there like me who love hip hop. So we're going to be there enjoying it from like
And
the
that's
soul.
what we get when you play the music. And it's the same with Shorty. It's the same with Mr. Thing.
But I do think that that is also a difference in hip hop that has gradually happened over the years. You could have had like, you know, hardcore dudes back in the day, but there was some kind of teaching behind there that even if they were, that wasn't necessarily in their music, but that was in their lives. And so that was kind of part of who they were. Or, you know, even artists like Kane or something like that, where there were people around him, you know, of different kinds of backgrounds who were, you know, schooling him on certain things. So I think whereas now maybe there's a lot of cats out there who haven't got that kind of foundation around them. So yeah,
that makes complete sense. And but the final question that I've actually got for you is, how do you think the scene has changed from then to now?
Then as in when?
Your time with Kung Fu.
The main, most obvious change is the digital era. You know, the digital era, we didn't even have a website for the majority of the time with Kung Fu, you know, and smartphones, just social media, which I think is potentially quite a toxic place. So just having something important, I think, is having a space where people physically are being together, kind of thing. That's a very different experience to like barking behind a keyboard. And then also just which also is when you have people coming together and getting there, making ideas. Whereas now things are much more egocentric in introspective music and artists and things. So I think it also does play into how music is being made and stuff. Like maybe you're getting less kind of there's not many groups around, full stop. It's hard to actually name groups, kind of thing. So I think in terms of the music, that's a massive change. Like there's lots of solo artists, not as many groups now, which I think is a shame. But yeah, the biggest change is definitely the digital era and social media and everything, which, yeah, I've got certain question marks over. But yeah, I just think a lot of amazing things throughout human history have happened by people getting together, you know, and just thinking of bands that you love. It's like musicians sparring off each other. Groups of MCs are sparring against each other. This like kicks everyone up their arse, and then you make something great out of that. So I think we haven't got enough of that happening in music
the human
nowadays.
touch is gone. The human touch is gone, really. So
yeah, and it's just all about
cases.
solo art across genres, kind of thing. It's just all dominated by solo artists, which I think is limited.
Can I put in a request?
Okay.
If anyone can find the answer to what the problem is, you're that person. So when you find it, come back and tell us about it, and let's spread the word.
Well, kindness, compassion. Like, well, that's a good starting place.
There you go. You said it. Any final words?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so impressed with what you've like put together here and what you're making happen. I think it's really wonderful. Like you're shining such a wicked light on our people, and I just want to keep seeing more and more content. And you're absolutely smashing it, and so much respect for everything that you've done from day one to being, you know, maintaining your activity now and everything. You know, we all appreciate it. You're doing a lot for all of us, so we appreciate you.
No, thanks. I appreciate that coming from you, obviously. I mean, I've had a few people saying similar things, and it's always nice when someone is in the position you're in, acknowledging what we're doing, because we're just trying to grow the scene. Yeah. Like, so let's hope that can happen. But you know, if there's any time that you want to get back here and you've got something to push, and you know, you start another Kung Fu part 2 or something.
Oh, definitely. I'll let me know. Yeah, let me know. Definitely be letting you know.
But how about where people can find you?
Well, anywhere online as DJ Sarah Love is the place to find me. So track me down. I'm DJing a lot out in with Shorty and Mr. Thing at the moment at the Dope Vibes party, which is like very cool stuff. So yeah, I'm going to be at a lot of festivals this year too. So yeah, there's going to be a lot more live shows as well happening.
All right, guys, so there you have it. Sarah Love, DJ Sarah Love. If you don't know about her, all I've got to do is say, where the hell have you been? I say that to a few people, but yeah, she's one of those people I have to say that for. Anyway, I'm going to put the links to her social media pages down in the description below, so please make sure you go and follow her. And You know what? Do your research on how much she's done, because she has actually like elevated the scene to levels at a time when the industry was just completely shutting us out. It was people like her that made things happen. She gave people hope. So guys, follow her, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel, click the bell to receive notifications, like, share, get involved in the comment section below, and thank you again for watching. We'll see you soon. Take care. Peace.